sometimes sour, sometimes sweet. An M. Night Shyamalan story called Everything's Peachy. Can we just skip straight to the plot twist, please?
2,000 years later.
Life's all about balance, and real love takes practice. We know accidents happen, but my love's on purpose. Reciprocate the feeling, find peace beneath the surface. Everything's peachy.
Alright, folks, anywhere by the yellow holes is gonna be good. You want to take a small step, just a little further. And so look behind you in the middle of the head. It's gonna be amazing. So, first things first, if you look down this way, you're gonna be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is your safety steps. You're gonna be able to it's not right for you, you're feeling. Just wait a minute, where you're living, and follow the light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna be out for safe. But we made it. We're all in. And in order to make our way out of here, we should start performing our job. So obviously we're a bunch of miners. So can you tell me, have an idea what metal the miners are looking for here in Britannia? They're looking for copper. Another question, what's the color of copper? How copper looks like? How many for green and blue? Well, copper can be blue and green when it's exposed to air or water, like the Statue of Liberty or the roof of the Parliament building here in Canada. But let's see, how many for bronze, orange? Usually native copper has a nice bronze color, but it's very rare to find that in nature. That's what we minerals are looking for. Here in Britannia, the miners are looking for a mineral with the name chalcopyrite. Does pyrite rings a bell? Do you know the word for pyrite? Fool's gold, but you would definitely be a fool to the copper behind. So folks, if you have your phone lights with you, take them out and use them to try to spot in these ore samples some nice golden stains. So for over here, this one is a pretty good one as well. Ever you see gold, that's not gold, that's the copper. That's why they call copper fool's gold, because so similar. My friend, do you see all the golden stains? Yeah. That's not gold, that's the copper. This is a pretty good one.
Just the copper, this is the gold.
And the green is just oxidized copper. So every beautiful golden veins is a mineral called chalcopyrite. So these are the things that you can even if it looks like this that, if you turn it around, you see all the golden? Ever see gold? That's not gold. That's the copper. That's the copper fool's gold. Because so similar, amazing. Take a look behind you. I go similar with this one. And tell me what is the purpose of drilling by hand? Was to open the entire tunnel ourselves, or these holes out in avenues? Do you all know the phrase, fire in the hole? We need a big explosion to make the job easier. 2 feet is the perfect size to place around 10 dynamite. And you would need about, what is it? Better? We're skeptical on sides. Well, of course, it's going to the sides and goes from the company side, so building the tunnel was becoming faster. So we have more profit, it's good for the business, so this is thumbs up. But from the miner side, things became much worse. Because if you see these 3 legs, they were very weak, and the middle of there was way too powerful to deal with no measures to protect the miners. Also, this rock has 2 more disadvantages. One, it was producing a ton of dust. And here in this mountain, we have a material with the name silica. To deal with this silica, all good? Just lost the hard hat, okay. It sounds like a lot more. To deal with this silica to make glass, concrete, bricks, all this kind of stuff. So these means that the miners were breathing a ton of glass into their lungs. And this could disease silicosis due to the worms, a fatal disease. Also, this drill had a bad habit to collapse onto the workers who were operating the machine. Would be 3 to 5 workers who support each leg. The drill eventually, by the vibrations, would collapse on them. And the weight of it is 300 pounds. That's why instead of piston drill, the miners call this machine Widowmaker. It's the first machine when you walk in at the resource center as well. Before we go any further, do you have any questions, comments, thoughts for me so far? Go for it.
How is it powered?
Excellent question. How was it powered? By compressed air. Basically, all the machines since 1910 have been powered by compressed air. Are we all able to cover our own ears? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, just disclaimer to everybody who's ready. The leg is a hydraulic leg. Water is going to come through and take away all the dust. So where you're going to see steam, water, not dust around the machine. It's going to be loud, but it's going to last for about 15 seconds. Hopefully good? Perfect.
Ready? Yeah. Amazing. Okay, so I'm turning in the air. I'm operating the machine in 3, 2, 1.
It's going to be a little loud for one more time. 3, 2, 1. That's all. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed it, because to be honest, the first time that I got trained to operate this machine, I almost cried. Because really overwhelming, you don't know what to expect. But now it's my favorite part of the tour. But imagine this thing here was so loud, and at the moment I feel like no rock. The hole there was empty. So imagine to have a line of 15 of them next to you for 8 hours, not 30 seconds, with only a knowledge is on my friend today, with only a piece of cloth to protect your ears. I want you to know this mine opened 1904, and it got proper ear protection like this 1967, and they sat down at 74. So that's the process. You dig holes in the wall, you go to about 24 holes, then you fill these holes with dynamites, then you're going to save distance, then kaboom, explosion. And then Shrew comes in to deal with the mess. Now, of course, we're not allowed to operate dynamite for all of you here today, so we're going to do a pretending explosion, and we're ready to move to the next panel to see what we left behind. Do you have any questions before I move on? No. Everything makes sense?
If you find a gold there, you'll be rich.
Just a quick favor, if you want to take this one step just a little farther, you can always use the space in front of you. So if the taller miners, if the drilling noise is not as loud in this chamber, it's because of that. Sounds good? Amazing. So, a quick recap. Mining is a 3-step process. First we have drilling, after we have blasting, and at the very end we have mining. And this would be your first position if you're new at the job, because after a big explosion, all we get is a pile of mud over there, a pile of rocks. And again, at the earliest days, you're only available to clean all this mess and actually extract the copper. Look at this. What's this? This may look like a shovel, but the miners would call this a matchstick.
Ready? So, I'm turning on the air. I'm operating the machine in 3, 2, 1.
Important question. Who would rather use a math machine than a shovel? I would do a million of times. So after 1950s, the shovels, the matchsticks, they got replaced by the math machines. They're collecting all the pile of math, the rocks here in the cart, and they're taking these at the highest level of the mill to actually extract the gold. But I now had nice overhead lights to help me do my job and my life much easier. But back in 1904, they had no overhead lights in the ground. Actually, they had no electricity at all. And here at the Britannia Mine Museum, we want to give you a real experience of what the miners did back then to actually look at, like the drill, it's fine, inside a mountain. So the plan for us is to go dark and do a lighting demonstration in the darkness. Always, it's better to use source of light from the exit of the tunnel. And if at any point some of you feels uncomfortable, just say lights on, and the lights will be immediately on again. Hopefully good about it. Amazing. Since you hear the drill, a fun fact about mining, so actually the mountain isolates the sound. Back in the day, the miners, in order to activate the dynamite, basically they would just go around a 90-degree angle. This is the same distance we just did. So for them, these would be safe enough to send the dynamites off through the blasted box. As you're able to listen to, the sound is not a problem for us over here, but it was way louder in the other tunnel. It's because the mountain isolates the sound. Okay, so you got your fact about the mine. I want for all of you to find still ground between your legs because the thing will go there. And do you have any idea what the mine was used back in 1904, my friend? A flashlight, something a little more simple. What do we blow on our birthday? Candle. So, not quite. We have some more science up here. So here you are, back in 1904, with your company-issued candle, ready to find your way in the underground. But of course, the environment will be very, very different. So we're going to do a countdown, this time together. Instead of loud, it's going to get dark. Let's do this one together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you see your hands?
Yeah.
Yes. And can we see barely the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Remember, there is always a light at the end of every tunnel. So, you need to do your job and you need to free your hands. So all I do is to drill a hole against the wall, place my candlestick over here, and now my hands are free, and let's say that's how I am able to work. Would you like to have lights back on again? Fine. We're fine here. Don't worry about it. 2025 is in our part today, in our favor. Okay, but let's go back in the setting. You need to do your job and you need to free your hands. So you drill a hole in the wall, you place your candlestick over there, and now your hands are free and you're able to do your job. But what do you think? Is it a good idea to have an open flame near to my head and dynamite my pocket? Not so smart. That's why around 1915 the Canadian government thought so, and they came up with the carbide lamps. Now the carbide lamps are basically simple lamps, pretty popular back in the day, and all I have to do is to place calcium carbide in the bottom. Calcium carbide is a chemical compound, something like rocks, and then regular water at the top, and this mix will produce acetylene gas and produce a flame. And now hopefully in 3, 2, 1, well, no. Well, usually, we have so many problems in this store. Usually around the 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. tour, this stops working very well. But I do have another one for you to see. This is exactly what the miners would do as well. They would always have a spare one. If you're able to listen to this sound, this is basically fresh carbide, the one that was not able to hear in the previous lamp. So again, We're gonna add some water at the top. We're gonna hear the acetylene, and now hopefully we're gonna get a nice flame. Would you like to go back in the dark really quick to see how bright this is? Perfect. So as you can see, compared to the candle, the flame is far more steady, and actually compared to kerosene and whale oil lamps like carbide and stay on, around fans and compressed air, when they're using here, basically when the water drips down from the bottom, due to the striker, exactly like a lighter, you're gonna get your flame, and due to the reflector, you're going to get a large range of vision. The only problem is sometimes the water may start leaking from the bottom, and then the whole thing will blow up. The same for the acetylene as well. It's basically the reason why I wear fireproof gloves. Well, as you understand, an extra crispy haircut was much in fashion back in the day. Seriously though, here in Britannia we never had any explosions because of this, but a terrible explosion happened in a coal mine in Virginia because they have the carbon monoxide gas, the coal mines reacts with the acetylene, and this became one of the main reasons that the carbide lamps became forbidden in the underground. Very soon they realized that open flames in heads are not the perfect thing to make the mining safe and effective. But then, after 1930s, electricity came and the miners started to use basic electric headlight lamps. Over here, I have an earlier one for you to see. You may have seen this one in movies or documentaries about mining. So here you can see battery, wire, and the lamp. All I have to do to use this is to place the battery on my belt, the wire all the way to my back, and the lamp on top of my hard hat. But as you can see, the system is pretty uncomfortable. This weighs about 4 kilos, 8.5 pounds. It's pretty heavy, and actually the miners had the same opinion with me. That's why they kept using the carbide lamps for a little while longer, despite the advice of the Canadian government. It's usually when I blow the candle, everything is dark, and I do my big finale, and we do have nice lights today, so that's fine. But do you have any questions, comments, thoughts about lighting, macking, drilling? Yes. Excellent question. If you use canaries here, so canaries would be, they would be used in the coal mines because of the carbon monoxide gas. Here at Britannia, at least, the air quality is way better, so they didn't have this problem. So the canaries were never used here in Britannia. What they would use for the oxygen. This is an air-powered whistle. It's connected with the main system of the mountain. They would pull the whistle at the end of every shift, and they had 3 shifts per day. They wouldn't do it at the end of the midnight shift. You're gonna realize now why. Make sure to cover your ears. It's going to be a big one. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Alright folks, no more loud noises, I promise. This was the cover quest, it's concluded, but your tour is not done. We're gonna go all the way down the hill. I'm gonna go inside the giant white building, the mill, to see the boom, our special effects show. It's your first time inside. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to mention a few things about the structure. If you'd like to gather around by the glass fences, both sides, that's good with me. Welcome to those of you who just came for the boom show. So, I want to welcome you at the mill number 3 where the boom show is going to take place. Why I'm saying mill number 3? The mill number 2 was right on this one side, was burned down back in 1951 after a very mysterious fire. We still don't know what happened back then, so the workers had to work really quick. A new building all over again, because without the mill, the mine would not exist. And they did it in 18 months period, 367 steps to reach the top. It's a long way. So for the boom show, you're about to experience some loud noises, nothing similar to mine, and some pleasant smells. If an important code is not right for you, you're trapped inside the building. It's right there on the green light. You're free to leave. Just keep in mind that I won't be able to leave you back until the show is completely over. Also, keep in mind your screen for the today's show is going to be the whole building. Be aware and keep an eye everywhere. With that being said, please remain seated and enjoy the show. Thank you so much.
Ay, TV pala yun.
Do you know how many panes of glass there are up there? 14,460. I'm just glad this is the only one I have to keep clean. They let a lot of light into this place, which was great for the electricity bill, but they also let a lot of light out. And as the mill worked through the night, it was a beacon that lit up the waters of Howe Sound, and it could be heard for miles around. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome to Britannia, once one of the largest copper mines in the world, and to mill number 3, which in its day was among the most efficient and advanced copper concentrators. This is why this place was built, all 20 stories of it, to liberate the minerals locked inside massive chunks of ore, just like that. One second. I'm so sorry you had to see this. We've got a much bigger rock on order. This is ore. It's rock made up mostly of minerals we don't want, but one in particular we do, chalcopyrite, because it contains copper. And if they found a few other valuable minerals in there, well, nobody was complaining. But it was copper that the miners were after, because it was here in such abundance. And because copper conducts electricity better than any other metal, except silver. If electricity is the modern world's lifeblood, then copper serves as its veins and arteries. Without... sorry. Well, I guess you get the point. In its day, this mill ranked among the best at coaxing those copper minerals out of the rock, and that efficiency was built right into the design of this building. Each step in the concentration process was located one level below the step before, so that gravity was always helping to move the heavy ore along, and it took a lot of ore to get a little copper. But over the years, the engineers at Britannia got better and better at it. By the time the mill closed, they were extracting 97% of all the copper in the ore. In all, Britannia produced 1.3 billion pounds of refined copper. That's the same weight as 43,000 school buses. That's empty school buses. So, how did they do it? How did they actually get the copper from the rock? I thought you'd never ask. Let me show you. Okay. So you can't see me from where you're sitting, but I'm in the uppermost level of the mill. The milling process began with the arrival of train cars loaded with ore from somewhere within the mine's 240 kilometers of tunnels. Then the train cars empty their loads into receiving bins below the tracks. The first task was to break up the large chunks of ore in a process known as crushing. Where do they come up with these technical terms? Although it appears empty today, the crushing level was once filled with large machines. The first was called a jaw crusher, which is pretty much how it sounds. It's a set of jaws like a giant nutcracker. It breaks the larger bits of rock down into smaller pieces, about the size of a softball. All the ore was then sent to a second machine called a cone crusher. Like a giant pepper mill, it crunches up the soft balls into even smaller pieces, about grape-sized. And from here, conveyor belts carried the crushed ore to the grinding mills. This is where the rock went into large rotating drums, filled with either steel rods or balls like this one. It's always heavier than I remember. The balls tumbled around inside the drums and smashed the rock into even smaller pieces. From there, we go to secondary grinding. Now mixed with water, the ore was washed into more ball mills. And as you can see, there were a lot of them. On several levels! The ore was then eventually ground down to the consistency of fine sand and water. But now all the different mineral grades in that muddy slurry had to be sorted out. And this is where it gets really interesting. They actually found a way to get rock to float. Well, some of it anyway. In flotation, the ground up rock and water mixture was poured into troughs. Certain aromatic oils were added. Here at Britannia, they like to use pine oil. Then, air was pumped to the bottom of the troughs to create bubbles. As the air bubbles rose through the liquid, the bits of copper mineral clung to them and were drawn to the surface, while the other minerals just sank to the bottom. The copper-rich bubbles remained in a froth at the surface where they could be skimmed off. This bubbling mixture often filled the mill with the scent of pine oil. The fourth stage, dewatering, happened right over there. The froth was piped into large wooden thickening tanks where this time the copper minerals settled to the bottom. This muddy mixture would then be piped into vats where the water was sucked out through canvas filters, leaving a sort of mineral cake behind called copper concentrate. But not the sort of cake you want to put a candle in, because this is how it looked. This is what was sent to the smelters to be refined into pure copper metal. So that's the process. That's how mill number 3 turned rock into copper concentrate. And that's still pretty much how we process minerals today to get the metals that we use in our everyday lives. But you know, this mill was also the pulse of a community. For the townspeople of Britannia Beach, the mechanical thunder coming from this building day and night must have been strangely comforting. Because if they heard those booming sounds, they knew the economy was booming, the mine was producing, and there'd be a paycheck to support their families. Of course, here inside the mill, it was a very different story. It was sometimes so noisy that the workers could barely hear themselves think. I wish there was some way of showing you just how really loud it was in here. Wait, stay with me. I'm gonna try something here. That can't be good. Okay, so the skip. The skip is a kind of sloping freight elevator used to carry the heavy equipment up to all the various levels. But workers riding it, that was absolutely forbidden. It was just too dangerous. Even empty, the skip weighs 3 tons. 15 tons with a full load. Imagine if it could break free. Anything in its path, like right where you're sitting now, just... Well, fortunately that never happened. Okay, good. Anyway, there was plenty of other things going on here. For one, they were always repairing equipment or installing something new to improve the concentration process. Sometimes a particularly stubborn boulder would get caught in one of the receiving bins and have to be cleared before the next train arrived. And up there, the ship foreman would be told when they needed to deal with it, with a well-placed stick of dynamite. And once in a while, that even blew out the upper row of windows. Fire in the hole! Okay, that's got it. comes the ore train. Let's start the conveyor belts. And now for the jaw crusher. And the cone crushers. Now for the ball mills. On to the flotation tanks. Dewatering. Everybody okay?
Maybe.
How about we just keep that last part between us? Okay? Okay. So, on November 1st, 1974, they shut down Britannia Mine and mill number 3 fell silent. Gone too was the beacon that had shone each night over Howe Sound. For the community that had always been there to serve the mine, the darkness and silence must have been strangely disquieting. You know what? I'm gonna leave you with the words of a longtime Britannia resident who put it much better than I ever could.
Can I tell you the first time it really struck me that this place was gone? They decided in '74 to shut it down because it was costing too much to get the ore out and that wasn't profitable. One day I went to Scottish grocery shopping and when I came back, the mill, the concentrator, was dark. And I sat up on the bluff and I couldn't come home because I was crying so hard. It was the saddest thing. I'd never seen the mill building without lights in it. And that's when I knew it was over after being here for so many years.
So the people had to move on. But the building itself remains, a testament to all who lived and worked here. And today it's a National Historic Site. So I hope next time you're driving by, you might have a better understanding of what happened inside this amazing old building leaning against the mountainside. But not everything that happened, because some of that stays between us, right? Thanks for coming.
Okay, but let's